This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe Birthday Boy. And normally when I do a birthday boy, the birthday boy is alive at the time of the taping. But unfortunately, because I already used up Jan17 for 3 people, which, according to my records, are D-Wade, Jeremy Roenick, and Kip Kano, the famous distance runner, I gotta go with this guy. So, of course, everyone knows who this is, hopefully. Well, if you're watching this on YouTube and see the picture, you know who this is. But yeah, it's one of the greatest boxers of all time, Muhammad Ali, who was born on this day, January 17th, 1942. Now, contrary to popular belief, this is not the day Michael Jordan was born. Michael Jordan was born February 17th. Right. Anyway, Cassius Clay, as he was known, had a brother, and it was named after his father. Anyway, Ali was a descendant of slaves from the South and was predominantly of African descent with Irish and English family heritage, because his maternal great-grandfather actually immigrated from Ireland. So, anyway, his father was a sign and billboard painter, so he would paint on signs and billboards, and his mother was a domestic helper. He was raised up in the Baptist church and all that, and Ali was actually dyslexic, which led to troubles in reading and writing within school. He grew up amid racial segregation. Segregation was still a major thing for the U.S. South when Cassius grew up and all that. So, anyway, I just heard it. A Louisville police officer would actually direct Cassius / Ali Muhammad to boxing when the 12-year-old actually took a bicycle. Well, sorry, a thief took his bicycle and he was going to whoop the thief. The officer said that Clay should learn to box first. He was in the prospect. He was a decent amateur. He was such a good amateur, he was the U.S.'s light heavyweight representative in the 1960 Summer Olympics, in Rome, where he beat a Polish opponent who I cannot pronounce and will not attempt to. But regardless, his amateur record was 105. Despite being a gold medal winner, and when the Olympics really meant something, he was refused service at a whites-only restaurant. There was a lot of thing and all that. The story goes that after being denied service because of his color and having a fight, he dropped his gold medal into the Ohio River. Of course, that's a little bit disputed, but regardless of that, Ali did get a replacement at the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta. His early career would be huge. In October 1960, he would make his debut by winning a decision over Tony Hunsaker. So that 3 times fast. Ali would go 19-0 with 15 wins by KO by the end of 1963. He actually beat the legendary Old Mongoose Archie Moore in a 1962 match. Clay had a few tough matches, actually. Anyway, it was huge. But Cassius Clay would actually learn by 63 to belittle his opponents verbally and flaunt his abilities. He called lots of people bums, including the great English fighter Henry Cooper, and didn't like Madison Square Garden because it was too small for him. Ali's trash talk was actually inspired by pro wrestler Gorgeous George when he saw George's talking ability during a radio thing, because they were both guests. And the fact of the matter was that, Clay learned how to talk and all of that. Yeah, anyway. So, anyway, he actually hired Angelo Dundee to be his trainer, the legendary Angelo Dundee. So anyway, Clay would be the top contender for the heavyweight belt held by Sonny Liston, who was kind of a thug because of his ties with the mafia. The first fight was February 1964 in Miami Beach. Liston was huge. Clay would be a 7-1 underdog. But Cassius would taunt Liston, calling him a big ugly bear, saying that Liston even smells like a bear. After I beat him, I'm going to donate him to the Sioux. So anyway, Cassius Clay had a pulse rate that was more than double his normal one. So his pulse was huge. And a lot of people said that maybe Clay's behavior stemmed from fear and all that. Regardless of that, Liston would rush at Clay at the opening bell, wanting a quick knockout. However, Clay's speed and mobility would get him to take down Liston. Liston had troubles. But in round 4, Clay complained that he was having blinding pain in his eyes to cut off his gloves. There was rumors that the ointment used to seal Sonny Liston's cuts somehow got under his boxing gloves. It may have been applied to his corner, and so that their eyes were burning and all that. Clay was actually able to survive in the 5th round, but sweat and tears would until sweat and tears rinsed the irritation in his eyes, and Clay would dominate in the 6th round. Liston would not come out for the 7th round, and Clay won by TKO. Liston said he had injured his shoulders. However, Clay would rush to the edge of the ring, point to the ringside press, says, "Eat your words. I am the greatest. I shook up the world. I'm the prettiest thing I ever lived." I'm trying to remember. I'm king of the world. Hold on, you're not that great. I'm king of the world. So anyway, it was just nothing. So Clay ended up at 22 being the heavyweight champion of the world. And Clay would be the fastest boxer to win the championship in 20 belts at the time, of course. But Cassius Clay was interested in the Nation of Islam and would actually change his name from Cassius Clay to Muhammad Ali. The rematch with Liston was in Lewiston, Maine, which was shocking because like 2,500 people, and Lewiston is not really a big town. It was supposed to be for Boston in November '64, but because of Ali's hernia surgery, it had to be redone, and they went to Maine. So the fight was controversial. And Liston was trying his best, but Ali somehow hit him with what they called the phantom punch. And all of that. The referee, Jersey Joe Wolcott, himself a former world champion, actually didn't begin the count immediately because Ali did not go to a neutral corner. Anyway, Liston was down for 20 seconds and got up, knowing that the count was there and all that. However, Wolcott was informed that Liston was down for 10 and called it for a KO. It was only 2 minutes long. And a lot of people said that fight was when Liston lost on purpose to pay off his debtors and all that. Ali would face Floyd Patterson and call him the Rabbit in November 1965. Yeah, but anyway, he actually founded his own promotion company, Main Belt, which would handle Ali's boxing promotions and pay-per-view fights and all that. Unfortunately, though, in 1966, he refused to fight in Vietnam. He was classified to be drafted. It says, "I ain't got nothing against no Viet Cong. No Viet Cong never called me the N-word." But anyway, Ali had a stance. He did not want to fight in the army. I mean, to be fair, though, what if the U.S. Army just wanted Ali as promotional material, or just basically gave him simple tasks, not go to Vietnam, but just be in the army camps and all that? That could have been what they were thinking. But of course, Ali's anti-draft stance would cost him dearly, as he was stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship and didn't really fight in the States. He would take his talents to Canada and Europe. One famous fight in 1966 was him facing George Chuvalo at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. I think it was March 1966, if memory serves me right. Anyway, Ali did beat Chuvalo, but the one thing that Ali did not do to Chuvalo was knock him down. Chuvalo was known for not being KO'd or knocked down in matches. But anyway, he did fight Cleveland Williams at the Astrodome in 1966 and would fight Ernie Terrell February 1967. But because of his refusal to be drafted to the Army service, he was stripped of his title. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. But he paid a major bond while the verdict was being appealed. And luckily for Ali, he didn't have to go to jail. He did not want to go to the armed forces because of the whole current thing. But it was just like huge and all that. The case was reviewed in 1971 and unanimously was overturned. So anyway, it was just amazing. There was a massive impact and all that. Lots of people thought that he was good. That was good that he refused to draft. All that. So anyway, he actually did not have a fight between 1967 and 1970 when his case went through the appeals process. So he actually for 4 years didn't really have a fight, which was kind of strange and all that. He had a massive inactivity and was condemned by the American media. Supposedly so. So anyway, boxing promoters would do something called the super fight, in which they would do radio broadcasts of famous fights between famous heavyweights and all that, and they would be radio based. All that. So anyway, it was a fantasy fight that Ali would face Rocky Marciano, and a computer program said that Ali won the fight. In the US version, Ali lost in a 13th round knockout, but in the European version, Marciano lost due to cuts. So anyway, he returned to fighting against Jerry Quarry October 1970, winning in 3 rounds. He would have a tough match against Smokin' Joe Frazier on March 8th, 1971, in which people called it the fight of the century, because they were both undefeated. 36 countries would have this fight. All that. Ali would call Frazier an Uncle Tom and all that. But anyway, that fight lived up to its billing. And Frazier even knocked Ali, knocking him down in the 11th round. Ali took a 3 count. But nevertheless, Frazier beat Ali by unanimous decision, which meant Ali finally had an L to his name. So anyway, after his loss, he would fight Jerry Quarry, Floyd Patterson, Bob Foster, and Ken Norton, all in that order. Ken Norton actually broke Ali's jaw in 73, making him lose for the 2nd time. After considering retirement, he did win a match against Norton in the rematch. It would be a rematch with Joe Frazier January 1974. And in the second fight, it was toe-to-toe. Fortunately, though, Ali was given a unanimous decision. And then it set up the fight with the heavyweight champion George Foreman in Kinshasa, Zaire, October 1974. It was supposed to be in September, but because of an injury to, I believe, Foreman got hurt, everything went for shit. So regardless of that, Foreman was one of the hardest punchers and kind of close to Sonny Liston. So you can kind of guess the POV. Ali was 32 and actually had lost speed and reflexes. And a lot of people said that Foreman was going to definitely win. However, Ali used his talking ability to get the Zaire people on his side. And Ali would be with the Zaire people and be the people's favorite to win the match. Anyway, he decided to debut something called the rope-a-dope, in which he would sit back kind of close to the ropes and let the opponent punch himself out and lose a lot of things. And Foreman began to get tired. By the 8th round, Ali had Foreman right where he wanted. And wham! Knockout punch, game, set, match, and Ali was only the second fighter, the first since Floyd Patterson, to regain the heavyweight belt after losing it. So he was a massive underdog. And 1 billion people worldwide estimated watched that one. Anyway, he would fight Chuck Webner, Ron Lyle, and Joe Bugner. Of course, the Webner fight would be actually the inspiration for Sylvester Stallone to pen his masterpiece, Rocky. Ali would face Joe Frazier for the 3rd time in Manila. Both had 1 win. It would be called the Frilla in Manila in the Philippines. But temperatures would approach 38 Celsius or 100 Fahrenheit. And it was close and all that. But Frazier's trainer refused to let Frazier fight in the 15th round, so Ali won by TKO. While Frazier's eyes were swollen shut. And Ali was spent because of the tightness of the fight and the temperatures. So in his later career, he would do such things. He would face Leon Spinks in Las Vegas and somehow lost to Spinks in one of the most unbelievable fights ever, because Spinks only had 7 pro fights when he was challenging for the world title, and Ali lost to him. Ali did come back and win it at the Superdome in New Orleans. That one. It was an uninspired fight, and Ali took his belt. He would announce his retirement in July 1979, but he wanted the WBC belt to win his 4th heavyweight championship against Larry Holmes, but that did not go over so well. Unfortunately, though, with the Ali Holmes fight, it was discovered that Ali was struggling with vocal stutters and trembling hands. So they wanted him to go to Las Vegas for a complete physical, but Ali went to the Mayo Clinic, who declared him fit to fight. Ali would fight Holmes October 1980, but unfortunately he had a lot of problems. So anyway, Ali couldn't believe it. And they said that Ali's Parkinson's syndrome was attributed to the Holmes fight. Ali would fight Trevor Berbick in the Bahamas and lose. Anyway, he would be in a lot of exhibition fights, but his most famous exhibition fight was with Antonio Inoki, who was a great Japanese wrestler. So in 1976, he would face Inoki. Unfortunately, though, Inoki didn't really do his part in the fight. Inoki had a pelican's jaw, but also he was on the ground for the majority of the match, not really standing up. Ali would only land a couple jabs, but Inoki's kicks caused 2 blood clots and an infection that almost saw Ali's leg being amputated. Ali's team insisted on rules about Inoki's inability to wrestle. The match was not scripted and was declared a tie. And it was like very much a farce and all that. Although Ali and Inoki would have a friendship after the fight. Ali was actually married 4 times and had 9 kids, only 2 sons. So it was just amazing what he could do. But one of his 7 daughters, Layla Ali, which I covered in a birthday girl a while ago, was a professional boxer and did quite well and all that. So, yeah. That's what happened. So anyway, there were a lot of paternity claims and all that. Ali was close to Islam for his life after 1964. He was in acting for a few times. He would do spoken word poetry and rap music. One of the best poetry was "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. His hands can't hit what his eyes can't see. Now you see me, now you don't. George thinks he will, but I know he won't." So yeah, a lot of rhyme schemes and did pretty well. He actually did an album of spoken word in 1963 called "I Am the Greatest." All of that. So he knew he could do it. Professional wrestling and all of that. He was in all of that. He actually went to North Korea with some wrestlers in WCW, including Antonio Inoki and Ric Flair, for a diplomacy thing at the Collision in Korea in '95. He was in some TV stuff and all that, including This Is Your Life. He was in Different Strokes for an episode in 1979. So yeah, he did all that. Unfortunately, by 1984, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's syndrome, which sometimes results from trauma, like boxing. But Ali was still active. He did a lot of humanitarian efforts in Africa. So he did a lot of great things. One of the most impressive things, despite his declining health, was in 1996 when he actually would light the torch for the Olympics. All that. So, a lot of people were not sure who would light the torch, but Ali stood out of the shadows, took it from the torch from Jenna Evans, and lit the flame. Despite his trembling hands, he did it quite well, and it was one of the most moving moments in Olympics history. Unfortunately, Ali's Parkinson's syndrome led to a gradual decline in his health, and he was still active in the 2000s. All that. By February 2013, Muhammad Ali was having trouble speaking and all that. He would die from a respiratory illness June 2nd, 2016, and died of septic shock at age 74. Lots of people would be trending Muhammad Ali. It would be an icon and all of that. So his legacy, man, what a legacy he had. In media and pop culture, he did quite well. He actually voiced himself in a cartoon about Muhammad Ali, becoming the first African-American lead voice in a cartoon. Ali was on Sports Illustrated's front cover 38 times, second most to MJ's 50. So he was one of the most recognizable athletes in the United States. A lot of things happened and all that. So yeah, he was 56-5 in his career, which was great, winning the World Heavyweight title 3 times. And he's just an icon. What can I say? Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.